Ever seen a janitor play guitar like his soul was on fire? Because that's exactly what she saw, every single night from her glass office above the hospital lobby. The story begins in the quiet halls of St. Mary's Hospital, long after the visitors have gone and the lights have dimmed to a gentle glow. Daniel worked there as a janitor, a single dad, widowed for 5 years, raising his 8-year-old daughter, Lily. He never complained. He scrubbed floors, emptied bins, mopped corridors, and then, when no one was watching, he'd take out his old, beaten guitar and play softly near the pediatric wing. The notes were tender, full of ache and hope, lullabies for little souls who couldn't sleep through the pain. But one night, someone was watching. Evelyn Carter, the CEO of one of the biggest tech companies in the country, had her office on the top floor of the hospital. She wasn't there by coincidence, her company had funded part of the new children's ward. But Evelyn's real reason was more personal. Her only niece, Mia, had been battling leukemia for months. Every evening, Evelyn stayed late, pretending to work, but in truth, she just wanted to feel close to Mia. And every night, around 9 p.m., the sound of a guitar would drift up from below. A soft melody that somehow reached her heart through the cold glass walls of her office. It wasn't perfect, sometimes the notes cracked, but the emotion in them was undeniable. She looked down once and saw him, the janitor, sitting on a bench, his mop leaning nearby, strumming his guitar with his head bowed. At first, Evelyn just listened. Then she started noticing something else. Her niece, Mia, was changing. The nurses said she smiled more on the nights when the janitor played. She asked for her window to be open so she could hear the man with the golden guitar. Daniel had no idea. Every night after finishing his shift, he'd quietly sneak into the children's ward to play. Not for money, not for fame, just for one girl who reminded him of his late wife, Emily. She too had spent her last days in a hospital, humming along to his songs when he thought she couldn't hear anymore. The music was his way of keeping her memory alive. One evening, Lily came along with him. She'd been waiting in the staff lounge after school. "Daddy, can I sing too?" she asked. Daniel smiled, wiped his hands on his uniform, and nodded. Together, they sang a gentle song about hope and tomorrow, unaware that in one of the hospital rooms, Mia was awake, smiling through her tears, her small hand tapping weakly to the rhythm. And in the glass office above, Evelyn was crying, not the tears of a CEO who'd seen profit and loss, but of a woman who hadn't heard genuine kindness in a long, long time. The next morning, she ordered the hospital staff to find out who the man was. When she saw his file, Daniel Reeves, janitor, widowed, single father, something in her heart shifted. She could have called him to her office, offered him money, a promotion, anything. But she didn't. Instead, she came down that night. He was sitting again, tuning his old guitar, the strings slightly rusted. Evelyn walked up quietly, and for a moment, he didn't even notice her. When he did, he jumped up, embarrassed. "Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am, I was just playing for her," Evelyn interrupted softly, glancing toward the pediatric window. "My niece. You've been helping her more than any medicine could." Daniel blinked, unsure how to respond. She continued, "You remind me of something I lost, something I thought money could replace. But you've given hope back to this place." From that night, everything changed. Evelyn began visiting the children's ward more often. She saw how Daniel interacted with the kids, how his warmth lit up their hearts. She also saw how he struggled, living in a small apartment, working double shifts, still making time for Lily and the kids who needed him. So she did something bold. She organized a hospital fundraiser, Music for Hope, but she didn't tell Daniel he was the main act. When the curtain lifted, and he saw hundreds of faces watching, including nurses, doctors, children, and the billionaire CEO herself, his hands trembled. But then Lily squeezed his hand and whispered, "For Mom." He took a deep breath and began to play. The song echoed through the hall, the same tune he'd played for Mia, the same one he'd once played for Emily. Halfway through, the audience rose to their feet, clapping, crying, moved beyond words. When the song ended, Evelyn came forward, eyes glistening. "Daniel Reeves," she said into the microphone, "you've reminded us all that healing doesn't just come from medicine, it comes from humanity." She announced right there that her company would fund a new program, the Reeves Foundation for Healing Through Music. The crowd erupted. But the real magic wasn't the applause. It was when Mia, now recovering, walked on stage, holding a small white rose. "Thank you for playing for me," she whispered. Daniel knelt, tears spilling down his face, and hugged her gently. Months passed. Daniel was no longer just the janitor. He became the hospital's official music therapist, leading weekly sessions with the kids. His daughter Lily had her own little guitar now, teaching younger patients how to strum. And Evelyn, she kept her promise, not just by funding, but by showing up, helping, smiling again. Every night, as Daniel closed the hospital lobby, he'd look up to the glass office above, only now, Evelyn wasn't watching from a distance. She was beside him, helping carry instruments, laughing with Lily, part of the music, part of the healing. And maybe that's what love really is, not grand gestures, not riches, but the quiet moments when one person's song reaches another's heart.